Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am cooking a meal for my family. Periodically, I go to visit my parents and my brothers and sisters, and sometimes when I go to visit, I try to cook lunch for the family. My parents own a store, and my three younger siblings are actually homeschooled, and so I try to bring lunch for the family and a dessert or something along those lines. So it's one less meal that my mom has to cook. And since I'm going and hanging out anyway, but I wanted to show you guys how I cook for a large family on a budget. And I like to try to be I like to try to cook for people. I am not a good cook, but the things I know how to cook are pretty good. And I'm really good at improvising when I don't have something, and it usually tastes pretty good. So I'm going to show you guys how to take stuff from the food pantry. I get that stuff when I go to volunteer. I also do dumpster diving occasionally, and I get stuff at the Dollar Tree and on sale. So, and this is how I feed a large number of people doing that. So to start with, I am making a, this is a devil's food cake, and it was a box, just a box of chocolate devil's food cake, and I got that on sale. You can see one of my shopping hauls for that. And then inside this is oil and water, and the oil was free from the food pantry, and I don't have eggs. I have a dozen eggs, but those are for Thanksgiving. This is a few days before Thanksgiving, and those eggs are for my famous deviled eggs. So I used 4 dumpster bananas, and they're in there. And then next, this is non-dairy coffee creamer. It's French vanilla. This also came from the food pantry, and I will put that in there just to kind of give it a different depth of flavor. And this is really good for putting into baked goods. So I'm going to finish stirring that up and get that into the oven. And then here in the crock pot, this is ground turkey, and this was found in the dumpster. And I'm going to cook this in the crock pot, and I am going to make sloppy joes. And to stretch that ground turkey, I have this ground pork, and this is from the food pantry. And my mom said that this is not very good on its own, so I wanted to mix it with some with a different meat and see if it's any better. So worst case scenario, it's one meal sorry about my finger in the video, guys. Worst case scenario, it'll be one meal that we just won't eat again. I also have these 2 packs of buns. As you can see, they expired on October 20th, and they just came out of the freezer. So these are 16 buns, and these will be for the sloppy joes that I am going to be making. These are the 2 cans of Manwich that I'll be using for the sloppy joes. Those were on sale too. I got those at Martin's, and those are in a shopping video that I've done. And I've never tried the bold one. Since a bunch of different people are going to be eating it, I thought that it would be better to mix the thick and chunky with the bold. And I'll probably add a can of tomatoes in there as well. But I'm going to go ahead and get cooking, and I will let you guys know how everything turns out. This is the cake all cooked. As you can see, it's kind of, it's not as big or fluffy as if you used eggs, but we have a cake, and it's completely solid, as you can see. I just pulled it out of the oven. There is my bundt pan, and I'm going to let it cool on here, and then I'm going to put it in my, I have a cake holder that I'm going to put it in for transporting after it cools off. And I haven't decided if I'm going to put What I think I'm going to do instead of frosting is I have some Hershey's chocolate Cool Whip, and I will bring that with me so that we can put that on top instead of frosting. So now that that's out, inside the oven is my crock pot, and the bottom part of your crock pot and the lid you can put inside your oven. Now the oven is still hot from the cake, so I'm going to close that, and I'm going to cook the raw hamburger, the raw turkey meat in there. I'm just going to turn this off, and that way you're not wasting heat, and the heat from the oven from when you cooked the cake will heat up the meat and have it cook faster because the meat was raw. And then I will add this stuff after. This is the cake on the cake holder. It's mostly cooled. I'm going to let it cool off a little bit more. As you guys can see, it's kind of small. And that happens when you replace the eggs with bananas. But it smells really good and it looks really good. And I've got this little carrier. And you guys have probably seen this in another video that I did. But I'm going to let that cool down some more. And then I have the buns. And this is another thing that I do. I get everything set up for the next day, so it's quicker going out the door. So these are some apples that I'm going to take with me tomorrow to eat. And we've got the buns and we've got the cake. Then over here, I made 2 boxes of mac and cheese. And it's in here cooling down rest of the way. And that will be the side dish for tomorrow. And then this is the Sloppy Joes. All cooked up. I'm going to let it cook a little bit longer in the crock pot just to marinate all those flavors. And in there I put 2 cans of Manwich sauce, a can of stewed tomatoes, and a can of tomato sauce that I canned myself. And those tomatoes that I canned were from the dumpster. And that's what I'm going to be bringing for lunch tomorrow. This lunch is to feed 9 people, and that is just my immediate family, my parents and my brothers and sisters. And I made enough so there would be leftover Sloppy Joes, and they can use that to make some lunches or maybe have the leftovers for dinner. Also, Sloppy Joe's freezes really well. So if they were not able to eat it all for whatever reason, I mean, it is a couple of days before Thanksgiving, so you could freeze it and save it for another time, or freeze it and then add it to a chili or a soup and repurpose it. So I just wanted to finish off this video by letting you guys know that to make that entire meal to feed 9 people with leftovers was only $3. The only thing that I personally paid for were the 2 cans of Manwich were $1 each, and the cake mix, which was $1. And this is a few days later, and the cake and the Sloppy Joes turned out really good, and there ended up being a ton of leftovers. And I'm trying to show you guys that being generous and helping people out, and sometimes just making a meal for someone can make a difference in their day, and it's something that they don't have to do. And also, cooking an abundance of food doesn't always have to cost a lot. Now, granted, there was a few vegetables like in the Manwich. Now it's not laden with fruits and vegetables, but not every meal can be, especially when you're trying to cook on a budget. But we also had apples and different things like that, and there was salad available, etc. So I've been getting a lot of requests lately for people to see how I cook with the dumpster food and the food pantry food that I get and the stuff that I get on sale. And this is how I do it. I mix everything together. And it's a fun game for me to then later on go, okay, how much did this whole meal cost? So for it to feed 9 people, lunch and then have tons of leftovers. It only cost $3. I thought that was really good. So I've got another video coming out here pretty soon about Thanksgiving and the turkey that I'm making for Black Friday for the community dinner that I volunteer at. It's kind of like a soup kitchen. It's once a month, but it's at a church and the pastor calls it a community dinner. I just call it a soup kitchen just because it's easier to explain than saying community dinner, but that's what they call it. So anyway, oh, and I just wanted to remind you guys, if you hadn't heard yet, I now have an Instagram, and the link for that will be down below in the description box. And I also have a video about my Instagram channel, and it's The Frugal Life with Mercedes. It's on Instagram, and I really appreciate you guys watching my video today and joining me. And if you already are subscribed, thank you. And if you are watching my channel for the first time, or you've been watching for a while but haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing and commenting and joining me on this frugal journey. So thank you guys so much. Have a good night. Bye.